So Ilsa is dead, or at least that's the theory, and as we all know, theories on the internet are always 100% accurate, but there may be some stuff to back it up. Now, this idea has been kicking around the internet for a while now, as far as I can tell, first from Tumblr user Luna Peace Lovegood, and then on to sites like Broadway World and others some such. Basic reasoning behind this, to simplify, is that Ilsa represents death and rebirth, which is also reflected in her costume, which goes from white to green. But what is the actual, evidence? Because here on Broadway Radical, we are all about the facts, by golly. The most obvious example of this is that the only person Ilsa directly communicates and interacts with is Moritz, who is about to die and thus has a connection, I guess, to the spirit realm. If you want to go there, if you want to go spirit realm with Spring Awakening, the afterlife, whatever. Then there's the Dark I Know Well, but that's Marta singing to Ilsa as kind of like an idea. Ilsa's not in the scene, so it doesn't count. And there is one more scene that Ilsa is in that we'll touch on later. Ilsa's dialogue with Moritz strongly suggests that she might already be dead, like when she mentions that Gustav Baum woke her up this morning with a gun set against her breast, and we assume, because she's there, that he didn't fire, but, you know, he may have. She never says he didn't. She also mentions how she got drunk and fell asleep in the snow, and if she's dressed how she is in most productions, which is not much more than a white nightgown, that is going to cause some health problems, to say the least. If she spent an entire night in the snow with basically no clothes on, she's gonna have some sickness. Even if you manage to sleep a whole night in the snow and not wake up frozen to death, there's a large chance that you could still get pneumonia, because that's what happens when you fall asleep in the snow with no clothes on in winter. Even with our advanced medicine in 2017, people with pneumonia can be hospitalized and even die. Ilsa doesn't have access to the healthcare we have today, much less at all. She's poor, she lives in an artist colony, nobody's gonna take her to the doctor, and it's not like she can afford it. They don't have single payer yet, you know. There was no what would you call it, Kaiser care. Got him. Roasted, take that, 19th century Germany. And then, of course, there's when she says, "By the time you find me, I'll be lying in a trash heap," which we can take to mean she's already dead in a trash heap after Gustav Baum shot her, or she fell asleep in the snow, or take your pick of any way that Ilsa could have died by now. Then there's Ilsa's constant urging of him to walk her home, which, other than being maybe a double entendre, could mean, hey, walk to heaven with me, but he says no because he's too afraid to die. But then later, he's like, I'll tell the angels I got drunk in the snow and died. And so he kills himself to be with her. Probably, and for other reasons. Goes to be with her in heaven, or at least that's his intention, which is really ironic because the kind of Orthodox Christianity they would have taught back then would have said that killing yourself is actually the fastest one-way ticket to hell. Yeah, Moritz can't catch a break, even in death, no sleep in heaven or Bethlehem, am I right? To tell the truth, with all this Ilsa stuff, it really comes down to the production. They could make her alive or dead just with the subtle differences in how they portray the character. For instance, if anyone acknowledges her at the funeral scene, it's not stated in the script if they do or not, or they could project her onto the walls during her scenes. I just finished up assistant directing a production of this show, and we put a lot more emphasis on Ilsa than most productions usually do, mostly because our Ilsa is a badass. The conversation of whether she is alive or dead was one that we had often. However, we did not find a reason for it to be particularly compelling in terms of how related to the story. There is a silver bullet to kill this theory single-handedly, and it is kind of underwhelming. Near the end, Melchior sends a letter to Ilsa to get Ilsa to bring Venla to the graveyard for them to meet. Side note, kids, don't meet your lovers in graveyards. Doesn't go well. Also, really creepy. Why would you want to do that? Of all places, any place. Could have picked any place in the world. He picked a graveyard where she was buried and also his dead best friend. This is why you don't do it. Don't do that. Anyway, so here's my counter theory. It makes much more sense for Ilsa to be alive, not because of the story or the plot, but because of what she represents. This show can be seen as society moving from the long, arduous night of history into the bright new future of a world that is yet to come. Which is why a large part of this show takes place in the winter, which proves deadly for some of the characters, just like the White Walkers, right? Yeah, so, Game of Thrones. You guys seen that show? I've been thinking about this theory since we started rehearsals, and it never quite clicked with me until I finally saw the last song staged. We had Ilsa asleep at the start of the show in front of the set as the audience came in, and during Purple Summer, at the last refrain, the rest of the cast turned upwards towards the set, and she alone looked out at them, as if to say, this is her Purple Summer. This is her spring awakening. Beer, 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 beer. Ilsa is the song of Purple Summer. She is alive. She is always alive because she is more than human. She is an idea. She is the idea of hope through suffering and injustice that reaches throughout eternity. That sounded like way deeper. Ilsa can never die, but like everyone else is dead though. So I don't know if that makes it better or worse. Ilsa is alive in our hearts and our minds as we hope for the ideas of the future to prevail, so people can live and love freely without fearing the tyranny of those in power. Or maybe that's just bullshit. But what it definitely is, ow, I burned myself on the lamp, is I was about to say game theory. It's not a game theory, it's a musical theory. Thanks for watching.